Hello, and how are you, everyone? We are back for another episode of Wired for Success discussions with parents. So, what we are doing today is we are moving on from the month that we've been spending talking about communicating with your teenager, and we're now going to go into blocks, blocks that could be stopping you from having a free relationship with your teenager. So, my name is Patience Modevi, and I am here with my colleague Steve Costello. We are the duo who represent Wired for Success, and we are here to support you to have an amazing relationship with your teenagers. So, Steve, how do you feel we should approach today's topic?
Well, with caution, I think is the bottom line, Patience. Because if we don't give it some caution, we're going to be here all day. Because if you think about it, what blocks our relationships with our teens? There's 1,001 things, and probably some more on top of that. So we can't possibly cover all of it. But we need to think about what stops us from moving forward with our teams. What gets in the way of us moving forward with our teams? Teams. I meant teens.
Mm.
Sorry, I've got a cold, so my words are not sounding as clear as they need to. Uh, but what stops us? Another word for blocks. What stops us from moving forward with our teams? It's important that we have a free and open relationship. It's important that our young people, our teens, can come to us and talk about how they feel, that they can ask us about things that they're not sure about how they feel. But if we as parents have some kind of blocks to being able to answer their questions, or we have some kind of block because our own childhood wouldn't have enabled us to ask those questions, life gets a little bit muddy and
Yeah.
difficult to follow. So I was just, Patience and I were having a little conversation before we started, and I mentioned the fact that I have three younger sisters. And when we were teens, my three younger sisters, clearly they're female, have periods. And that was never talked about. Never, ever, ever. I didn't know what a period was until I was perhaps 15 years old. And I wasn't told by anybody in my own family, which is kind of difficult. So there was a block in communication there. I needed to know about that stuff because my female friends were talking about it because that's what they did. They shared with each other how they were feeling. I was part of a group of boys and girls. The conversation came up frequently, so I needed to know. If I didn't know, I would feel a little bit out of the picture, and that's awkward, isn't it, for a teen? The last thing we want is to feel as though we're not part of it. So, because of my parents' blocks of talking about something so simple as a period, I was made to feel kind of marginalized for a little while until I was able to say to my friends, girlfriends, I hastened to add, hey girls, what's the deal? Tell me about it. And they did, which was fantastic. But it would have been better coming from the parents because it was quite difficult for me to go to those girls and say, hey girls, what's the deal? It was quite hard to do that. So blocks can get in the way of all kinds of things. That's only one example. So Patience, over to you for a minute.
Yeah, I actually really like this example that you've given because going on the same line of event, a lot of things that you learn in your teenagehood, so I call it teenagehood, but basically that period of time where you're in between child and adult, um, you kind of you kind of are curious about life, curious about everything that is happening, and you want to know. Obviously, parents don't have to have all the answers, but the idea is that if you're not getting that communication, as in those question answer at home, and you don't have this freedom to be able to do that, you're going to go and find the answers elsewhere. Elsewhere means it could be good, as in it could be education, or it could be through a really, um, if I can word it like that, it could be really specific in a terms of like academics, for example, and say, okay, this is what's happened here, this is what happened. But it could also be from somebody else, education, as in home education, or it could be from the media. And we all know that not everything got it got a true meaning to what's being said. So, for example, you could have a child say, "Well, oh yeah, I'm going to go with the easiest answer. Father Christmas exists. No, it doesn't exist. Well, my father says that it exists, so therefore it exists." Do you see what I mean by when I'm using this example? It means
Yeah.
that the discussion now is based on what somebody is being told by someone else, and not on facts, not on what is actually is. But for this person, it is the truth. It's their truth, the truth that their parent gave them. So now, if you are not um, allowing this time, if you are not allowing this space in your own house to create this kind of like the free debate, you are allowing your teenagers to go and seek the answers elsewhere, which might not be the true answers. So I think going on to exactly what you said, Steve, is like when we don't get the answer, we go to the people that we trust the most. Who do we trust the most as teenagers? Our friends. And we go and ask them what they think, or what is the deal with something.
Yeah.
But then that answer might be a misleading answer, but it might also be a true answer. And again, in all of this, what we want is interaction. What we're trying here with Steve to give you, um, as a skill or something that you should develop, is interaction from both sides, on the negative, on the positive. That's what I've got. So much more I want to say, but I'm going to stop there. And let Steve.
As I said at the beginning, this is a challenge here, Patience.
Yes.
Just to talk about blocks for a minute. So I think if we're honest, all of us have something within us that blocks us moving forward. So let's say, for example, I'm just going to make up this example, that all of us have a block about communicating with our teens. So we've all got this imaginary block. But what can we do about it? How can we work to remove this block? Because it's almost like, look at it like a roadblock. If we've got this roadblock in front of us, we can't get past it. Our communication is going to keep failing until we find out how to remove that roadblock. So what can we do? We can look at it objectively. Where did this come from? This is curious. What a strange thing. And think back over our personal timeline to where the block may have come from. We may discover that it came from our own parents. We may discover that it came from peers.
Yeah.
There's 1,001 places it may have come from, but at least some thinking about where it came from. And when we've discovered, if we can discover where it came from, ask a simple question: is this block useful? And if there's any doubt whatsoever, then something needs to be done about it. It needs to be removed. It's not useful. What's the point in keeping it? That is easier said than done. That's why I work with individual clients on psychotherapy, coaching, patients, on coaching. So those are some of the reasons why we do what we do, for people to remove their blocks, because it's not always possible to do it on. So that's important to know. It's the same if you think about our team. We don't leave our teams in at the deep end if they say to us they've got a challenge. We try to help them do something about it. So the same is true for us as adults. We sometimes need support and help to remove these blockages. I'm not going to say any more for today because we're kind of running out of time. But blocks are something that we need to think about. Blocks are something that we need to put our hand up and say, yeah, I've got a block there. I need to do something about this. It's not a failing to say, yeah, I've got a block there. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's a very positive, powerful thing. Okay, Patience, back to you.
Yes, and it's true what you said around the blocks. Now, you might, as a parent, you might have a block and not realize that you have that block. But again, all of this will come as you eat a certain. I want to say block again, but it's not block. Like, for example, when your teenager come and ask you a question and you feel like that's like a little bit of a territory where I feel a bit shaky there, that means there's a block right there. So the idea is not to run away from the block, but the idea is to run towards the block, to break it open, and to really have an understanding of where this block is coming from, but have also an understanding of what this block could create if it is not being dealt with. In terms of the blocks, like Steve said already, there are so many things that we could say or teach you or show you in terms of that. But what we're doing and what we're always doing with the Wired for Success talk is that we are opening up a window. This is a window for you to go in and really, like a little bit of a Google window. Whoop, you come in and then you start to search and question things. And this is where we play our part. We come in with our expertise and we support you into really understanding how to move forward with those blocks. Now, we'll be back next week, as you know already, to give you a little bit more around that. But this is going to be part of the theme of the month. So we'll have a little bit more discussion around all of this. What do you think, Steve?
I think wonderful. Yes, it's something that's needed. So we'll look forward to that. We're going to be talking about values. We're going to talk about the dynamics in relationships and lots of related things to those. So let's see how we go. Same time, same place next week. And you can always catch the replay in the group or leave us a message on WhatsApp. You can contact Patience or myself in there. My number is +33 767 545 557, or you can catch Patience on +44 795 251 2060. They're scrolling across the bottom of the screen, so you've got time to write them down. Okay, have a brilliant week, everybody. We'll speak to you again soon.
Take care. Bye.